in Webster. He's in third grade at Mrs. Frank's class. So his family's here with us today, his parents and his brother. And then he also brought with us his grandma, Catherine Nicholson, and his great-grandfather, Sir Thane Baker. So this gentleman is a very, very important person. He's so important because he's an Olympic champion. He used to run track, and he went to the Olympic Games and won some medals. Have you ever met an Olympic champion? No. Neither have I. So let's give him our best attention and learn from him. All right. Welcome. So, Charlie's grandma will begin our presentation.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? Good. Well, we're going to watch a movie first, so I hope you like the movie. But Miss Baker, my grandfather, and I, and my brother are in the movie, okay?
One of our fathers, he looks at me and asks me what's it like, and I'm like, what are you talking about? My dad is really old, so I didn't know anything about the Olympics. I didn't know he was in the Olympics.
My dad is for Olympic medals. He entered 4 Olympic events and he got 4 medals.
Well, my name is Thane Baker. I'm from Elkhart, Kansas, small town in southwestern Kansas. Grew up there, lived the whole life there until I went to Kansas State University, which was the best thing that happened in my life going there.
My dad talks about when he got to Kansas State, he didn't know anything. Yeah, he really didn't. He grew up in a little tiny town.
When I was about 7 or 8 years old, Glenn Cunningham from my hometown ran in the 1936 Olympics, and he came back to Elkhart and had a Glenn Cunningham Day, and he ran down Main Street in his Olympic uniform, and I was standing there watching him, and that's the finest thing I ever saw. So I turned around to my father and said, I want to run the Olympics someday. And so all through school growing up, I ran everywhere I went.
And then when he was 14, there was a work accident.
I was working in a garage and I got a piece of steel in my knee. And 2 operations later, the doctor said, we can't get the steel out.
So they told him he had to give up athletics. He couldn't participate in any sports.
Yeah, I know the doctor sat there on the bed next to me and said, give up athletics. My mother had tears rolling down her cheeks over there because she knew my dream was to run. And of course, I told my mother, that's going to be the end of my dream. It's hard to put into words. When you're young, you have a dream, and you want to do it. Well, try. Don't just sit back and say, well, I can't do that. I'm going to try. And I tried, and it worked. And so the good Lord was looking after me.
2 years later, after limping through high school, he got permission to go out for athletics again.
Well, he was a guy who didn't necessarily have an enormous amount of success at the high school level.
And in the 100, I got last place. And in the 220, I got last place. I went to Kansas State, and the coach put an article in the Kansas State Collegian one day. If anybody would like to try for the track team, show up at Nichols Gym at 7 o'clock, and we'll talk about it.
And coach said, sure, come on, give it a try. And he just blossomed.
He got faster and faster.
It is amazing that he was able to do what he was able to do as a walk-on.
We ran in the NCAA and AU meet.
And there my dad qualified for the Olympic trials. Then when he went to the Olympic trials, he qualified for the Olympic team in the men's 200 meters and took off.
The 1952 Olympic Games are on.
First American sweep is in the 200-meter dash, oldest race in Olympic history.
Let's look at the dirt kicking up behind us. Runners, see the dirt kicking up behind us.
You're in the outside lane, see on the left.
Jersey City forges ahead to break the tape in 20 and 17 seconds. Equaling the Olympic record set by Jesse Owens in 1936.
And everybody hugs,
Baker of Elkhart
hugs,
Kansas.
and And then, look, Dad, you go off and do a little dance.
How do you do that?
He won a silver medal in the men's 200 meters, wearing borrowed socks and borrowed shoes.
You have a dream. Pursue the dream. And you could be surprised what it will lead to. It will lead to so many things in your life. Additional things from the things that related to your dream. Even if you don't maybe quite as successful in dream as you wanted to be, there'll be so many things you will learn from your dedication to trying to do better. Pick a goal in life, music, whatever it might be, and excel. Try to do the best that you can, and you will do better than you think you can. And the good Lord will help you along the way.
He and my mom got married, and then my dad went to Germany. My mom soon followed, and there he is working in Germany as an officer, and he gets a letter from Washington, D.C. Hey, would you like to come back to the United States and train for the 1956 Olympic team as a member of the Air Force? He got a gold medal in the 4x100 meters. They set a world record. He got a silver medal in the 100 meters and a bronze medal in the 200 meters.
The thing that really has always impressed me about Thane was, one, he was very humble. He was someone with his resume to just be as normal as he is pretty remarkable in this day and age.
What my dad did not know was that Kansas State University cast a bronze bust of him when he was a runner at Kansas State.
A lot of people that have accomplished what he's accomplished athletically, think they're owed something. He's always looked at it like he owes the university something. It's very meaningful for me to honor him in that way because I just think he's one of the truly special K-Staters.
My dad was really, really surprised. It was beautiful. This bust is going to go in the new indoor track facility for the Kansas State athletes.
Sometimes you need to step out and think about what Christ has done for us and what he's given us. We just don't take the opportunity enough time to thank him. I have in my pocket a marble. In 1958, a man named I.F. Cowley, we called him If Cowley, he said, passed around a bag of marbles and said, everybody take a marble. He says, carry that marble with you. If somebody has rubbed you the wrong way or something, take that marble out and think about the good things about that person. Think about the good things in life that you have the opportunity to take advantage of. Think about it. Oh, that marble. I still got the marble. Because there's good in everybody. There's good in everything. And if it takes a marble to remind you of it, get a marble. And get a marble. There's so much beauty in this life. Take advantage of it and thank the good Lord for what he's given us.
They can look at a guy like Thane Baker and say, now here's somebody that I can admire. I've always been proud to know him.
He's really one of those people that inspires you to be better than you are.
My life has been so fantastic. I never thought I would near have the opportunity to give back to other situations in my life. I've tried to pay back to my children, and I think that they have more than rewarded me with their lives, the way they've given back.
I actually went to a writing conference where I heard someone say, listen to God's whispers, and that's what you should write about. And so I heard God's whisper saying that I should write my dad's story. And I wrote a book called Running in Borrowed Shoes. I'm really proud of my dad. I am super proud of everything he's accomplished, not just with the Olympics, but with life. He's had a great life. And it's not over yet. He's 92, but he's still traveling and enjoying going and doing.
Man, I gotta tell you, there's sometimes I don't deserve this. Growing up, you didn't understand what you had. He's absolutely special. Probably the best I know. I know the best I know.
When you walk into the Olympic Stadium for the first time, you're numb. I mean, you're trying to take in everything, but you're there for a purpose. But you're almost numb. Is this really happening? Can this be what I wanted my whole life? Okay, now what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with my opportunity? When you walk into the stadium, or you walk into the auditorium, you walk into whatever you do, when you walk in there, that is an opportunity to take advantage of what you have learned in your life. There are opportunities out there. Look for them, find them, and try to achieve them. And when you're lucky enough to make the Olympic team and put on your spikes and run the Olympics. Do the best you can.
Thank you for watching the movie with us. So now you know a little bit more about my dad, Thane Baker. He's 93 years old now. So he's still young at heart though. So this is a story about running in borrowed shoes. And you see there on the left, those shoes were borrowed from the Kansas State Athletic Department because my dad did not have his own shoes. The tracks were more like dirt or gravel, and so those spikes are a ½ inch long. So those are really big spikes. My dad was born at home in Elkhart, Kansas in 1931. Some of you might have heard about the Dust Bowl and the Depression. It was a very difficult time, not a lot of money. So here on the map, you see the green arrow. That points to Elkhart, Kansas. And Kansas is below Nebraska. So Nebraska is the state above Kansas. And Elkhart's right in the corner. So this is a picture of the Dust Bowl. And it was taken in 1937 in Thane Baker's hometown. And as this dust is coming in, it actually turns the sky dark. And there were people who died from breathing in the dust. There were people who went blind because the dust got in their eyes. And so it was a very difficult time. My father used to sit in the basement, and his mother would have him wear a mask that she would dip in egg whites. So he would stay in the basement just trying to avoid the dust storm. So this is my dad and his sister Ruthine, who was 2 years older. And here he is at 7 years old, and he saw an Olympic athlete, and he said, I want to be in the Olympics. The athlete he saw was Glenn Cunningham, who was in the 1932 and 1936 Olympics. And Glenn Cunningham had an accident when he was a little boy. He was badly burned in a fire, and his brother died from the fire. And they thought that Glenn would never walk again. He was in bed for a year, but he was able to walk and then run. So even if you have obstacles, you can still go on. So my dad went to work when he was 8 years old in a car repair shop. Today, they would not let 8-year-olds work in a car repair shop, but they did back then. And it was dangerous. He got a piece of metal under his knee, and so he had to go to the 2 different hospitals, and the sisters down below in that bottom picture, sisters like that took care of him. But again, they could not get the metal out. So Thane Baker lived through high school, first with crutches and then a cane. He graduated from Elkhart High School, and they did let him run his last 2 years of high school, but again, he was last place in the 100 and the 220, that's what they called it back then, in the state meet, so he was last in the state meet. He went to college, his coach said he could walk onto the team, and he practiced very hard. So, and he listened to his coach because he knew he did not know everything. And so sometimes, I know some young people don't like to listen very well. And sometimes some young people think they know better than the adults in their life. But you need to listen. Listening is very important because it's the only way you can learn. So this is a picture with Dad, he's on the left, and 2 of his friends on the track team and his coach. He got better. In fact, when he was a junior in college, he tied the world record in the indoor 60-yard dash, so he was starting to get pretty fast. At the end of his junior year, 5 athletes and the coach got in one car, and they drove from Kansas to California in the summertime without air conditioning. But they went to go to a big track meet. It was called the NCAA, the National Championship. And there he qualified for the Olympic trials. He also qualified for the Olympic team in the men's 200 meters. And look at that airplane. It was a prop job. In other words, it wasn't a jet. They had propellers, and it had 3 tails on it. Nowadays, you don't see airplanes with 3 tails. But the airplane caught on fire, and it had all of the Olympic athletes on that plane. And so the pilot said, I'm going to cut the engines, and we're going to go in a dive. And he cut the engines, and everybody's flying through the cabin. Of course, they don't have seat belts. And finally, they got down low to the ground, and he started the motor again, and they were able to fly again, and then they landed. Well, everybody looked at the plane and talked about it, looked at the plane, and they said, okay, everybody back on the plane. And the athletes said, what? I don't want to get back on that plane. For a lot of these people, it was the first airplane ride they'd ever been on. But they said, well, if you want to be on the Olympic team, you're going to get back on that plane. So everybody got back on the plane. They went to New York. You got to see a baseball game. They had a ticker tape parade for the athletes, which basically means, if you can imagine this, they throw pieces of trash on people. But it was a big deal. So here's a picture of them getting ready to go, and they're in the airport getting ready to go to Finland. So if you see the little green arrow, that's where Finland is. And and you can see the United States on the left. Finland is as far north as Anchorage, Alaska. So they have the Summer Olympics there. Here's the team coming off the plane. They're still getting off the plane. This is the beginning of the Olympic Village. Here's more of the Olympic Village. And here's Dad. There's a picture of him with the group. So everybody, whoops, went backwards. Everybody ate in a tent, and there was lots of food for everyone. Here's everyone sitting together. It's really important to recognize that even though in the United States at that time, I don't know if you've heard of segregation. Segregation is where people of different races stayed apart. But at that time, the Olympic team was integrated, and that means that they were all together, and it didn't matter what color anybody was. It just mattered that they were on the same team. So here's some pictures from Thane's room. There were 7 men in a 2-bedroom apartment. The mattresses were filled with straw. The beds were very small, and they only had cold water in the bathrooms. Can you imagine Olympic athletes needing a shower and they only had cold water? So here's the stadium. And then it began to rain at the opening ceremonies. And basically it rained for the whole week. And it was cold and wet and windy. So this is Dad running the curve. And if you look at his right leg is much thicker around than his left leg. His left leg that he's got down going to the ground, where he's pushing off of, is a lot skinnier. And that's because of the damage to his leg and the surgeries from that metal under his knee. So here he is. He won his first heat easily. And he placed second in the 200-meter final. So there he is right after he finished running. And here he is with the Olympic finalists. And I really think it's neat that 5 of the 6 finalists all have their arms around each other because they're all together. Here's copies of these are the actual medals, pictures of the medals. Back in the day, nobody had medals on a chain or a ribbon. They just came in a box. His dad found a car in a field and repaired it and gave it to him as a present after the Olympics. And here he is, he's talking after the Olympics. They had a Thane Baker Day in Elkhart, and he's with his parents who look so proud. So Dad got his 200 meters, he got a silver medal at 52. In the 1956 Olympics, he got a gold, silver, and a bronze medal. But he continued to run as a masters and set world records for people over 40. And then he spent over 50 years as a starter, meaning he started track meets, so he gave back to the sport. So thank you for learning about Thane Baker. And I'm just going to be downtown at Bryant Books tonight with my dad, and we're going to be selling the books that I wrote. So by the way, Kansas State loaned him the shoes, and the medal is still in his knee at 93 years old. He still has medal in his knee. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
Good morning. I have a question back here. What is your question?
Your brother went to K-State?
His brother goes there.
Well, wonderful. Good for him. Going to college is very important. You should all try to go to college. It's very important. Yes? Somebody? You?
Sam, you go.
Can you describe how you got the medal in your knee?
Can you describe how you got the medal in your knee?
I was tearing up some wooden boxes with two hammers, and I put the claw hammer under one board, and I hit the edge of the hammer together to try to get the claw up there so I could pry that board off. And a piece of steel flew off the head of the hammer, and it went, of all places, it went right into my leg and under my knee. It's about the size of a wooden match head. It's relatively small, but it went into all places it had to go, and had to go in that one place. They couldn't get it out. Somebody back there?
Okay, Sophia.
Will you get surgery soon?
Say it again.
Will you get a surgery soon for your last leg?
We want to know if he'll get a surgery to get that.
Oh. Still asking about me. They're saying, will you get another surgery to get it out?
Well, the doctor said, if I take it out, I'll have to cut too many muscles. I don't want to do that. So let's leave it in there. And if it ever bothers you, then we can take it out. It's never bothered me, so it's still there.
Tatum. How about Tatum?
I don't run much anymore. Number of years, I ran from age 40 to age 65 in the Masters in races running against other people all over the world. I ran in Rome and ran in Australia again. I ran in Canada. I ran in the United States. Ran all over the world again in Masters track meets after age 40.
How about London? Speak up, London. Oh, when he got the medal of the knee, 14.
Age 14 when I got the medal in my knee.
Lydia.
I couldn't run for 2 years. After 2 years, I started running again.
Lydia.
How many medals do you have?
How many medals altogether do you have?
Well, I have 4 of them. These are replicas. The gold on the top, silver, bronze, and you can't see it very well. And in 1960, they started putting the ribbons around the medals, around the neck with ribbons. Before that, just box, just made just exactly like the originals. But these are not the originals, but you can't tell the difference by looking at them.
Kate. Did it hurt when you ran?
Not at all, not at all. It's, there is a cavity on the inside of the knee joint, and it is in that cavity. And as long as it stays there, why, it's not going to bother me. Pardon me? Well, dust storms would sometimes last half a day, and you would see them coming. They just look like clouds rolling around towards you. And of course, when we got there, I would stand at the end of the block, and when the dust storms would come, I'd run in the house because it just got dark and you couldn't breathe with all that dust in the air. It wasn't very pleasant, but you did what you had to do.
All right, one last question, okay? How about Cameron? Do you still have
The marble.
the marble? Do you still have that marble?
marble, it was 1957, what you saw on the screen. This marble makes me have a good day. If something happens that doesn't seem too great or something, I take out my marble and I take a hold of my marble and I say, you know, this is a good day. There's good people, there's wonderful things that can happen. So I carried the marble. I've lost a few marbles, but I've always got another one. So anyway, if you're not having a good day or something, but take out the marble and say, this is a good day. There's good people. It's a good day. I'm going to have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for this